Jet lag में आ गया.
Okay, so we just starting the YouTube streaming.
कल सपने में आई थी मेरे.
अच्छा, क्या कहे? तूने कांटेक्ट नहीं किया? वो भी ऐसी बैठी होगी.
अपन कर रहे उसको फोन. जेट लैग.
Okay, so we are set up now. So, Manjunath Prabhu, would you like to read some of the paragraphs?
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Yes, Prabhu. Go ahead, Prabhu.
The gopis attracted by the flute. With the arrival of the beautiful autumn season, the waters in the lakes and the rivers become so as clear as crystal and filled with the fragrant lotus flowers, and breezes blew very pleasantly. At that time, Krishna entered the forest of Vrindavana with the cows and cowherd boys. Krishna was very much pleased with the atmosphere of the forest, where flowers bloomed and bees and drones hummed with the jubilantly, while the birds and trees and plants were all looking very happy. Krishna, tending the cows and accompanied by Sri Balarama and covered boys, began to vibrate his transcendental flute. After hearing the vibration of the flute of Krishna, the gopis in Vrindavana remembered him again and began to talk among themselves about how nicely Krishna was playing his flute. When the gopis were describing the sweet vibration of Krishna's flute, they also remembered their pastimes with him. Thus, their minds became disturbed and they were unable to describe completely the beautiful vibration. While discussing the transcendental vibration, they remembered also how Krishna dressed, decorated with a peacock feather on his head, just like a dancing actor, and with the blue flowers pushed him over his ear. His garments glowed yellow gold, and he was garlanded with a Vajayanti necklace. Dressed in such an attractive way, Krishna filled up the holes of his flute with nectar emanating from his lips. So they remembered him entering the forest of Vrindavana, which is always glorified by the footprint of Krishna and his companions. Krishna was very expert in playing the flute, and gopis were captivated by the sound vibration, which was very attractive not only to them but all the living creatures who heard it. One of the gopis told her friends, the highest perfection of the eyes is to see Krishna and Balarama entering the forest and playing the flutes and tending the cows with their friends. Persons who are constantly engaged in the transcendental meditation of seeing Krishna internally and externally by thinking of him playing the flute, entering the Vrindavan forest, and tending the cows with the covered boys have really attained the perfection of Samadhi. Samadhi, trance, means absorption of all activities of the senses in a particular object, and the gopis indicate that the pastime of Krishna are perfection of all meditation and samadhi. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that anyone who is always absorbed in the thought of Krishna is the topmost of all yogis. Another gopi expressed her opinion that Krishna and Balarama, while tending the cows with the covered boys, appeared just like actor going to play on a dramatic stage. Krishna was dressed in glowing garments of yellow, Balaram in blue, and they held new twigs of mango tree, peacock feathers, and bunches of flowers in their hand. Dressing with a garland of lotus flowers, they were sometimes singing very sweetly among their friends. One gopi told her friends, how is it Krishna and Balarama are looking so beautiful? Another gopi said, my dear friends, we cannot even think of his bamboo flute. What sort of pious activity did it execute so that it is now enjoying the nectar of the lips of Krishna, which is actually the property of the gopis. Krishna sometimes kisses the gopis, therefore the transient nectar of his lips is available only to them. So the gopis asked, how is it possible that the flute, which is nothing but a bamboo rod, is always engaged in enjoying nectar of the Krishna's lips? Because the flute is engaged in in the service of Supreme Lord, the mother and the father of the flute must be happy. The lakes and rivers are considered to be the mother of the trees because the trees live simply by drinking water. So the waters of the lake and rivers of Vrindavana were in a happy mood, full of blooming lotus flower, because the waters were thinking, how is it that our son, the bamboo rod, is enjoying nectar of Krishna's lips? The the bamboo trees standing by the banks of the river and the lakes are also happy to see that descendant so engaged in service of Lord, just as a person who are advanced in transcendental knowledge, like pleasure in seeing that their descendants engaged in service of the Lord. The trees were overwhelmed with joy and were instantly yielding honey with the flow from the beehives hanging on their branches.
Prabhuji,
Another
we stop
gopi
here, Prabhuji. Sorry, Prabhuji, we stop here, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So we are reading this very beautiful chapter, the gopis attracted by the flute. So far in the Krishna book, we went to many chapters, where Krishna, how he's enjoying in Vrindavan, and how he's interacting with his, various friends, also many, pastimes of Krishna killing so many demons. So as we know, Krishna comes for the three purpose in this world: Paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya cha dushkritam, dharma sansthapanarthaya, sambhavami yuge yuge. So the first purpose is Paritranaya sadhunam, to give pleasure to his devotees. This is Krishna's first business of coming to this material world. The other two purpose, vinashaya cha dushkritam, killing the miscreants, and dharma sansthapanarthaya. These two, Krishna does not need to come personally to do these two tasks. Killing the miscreants, one of his energy is so powerful. They can kill miscreants, or his devotees, his servants are very powerful. Krishna can empower one of his devotee and he can do the job. Similarly, dharma sansthapanarthaya, Krishna's devotees are equally powerful. When Krishna empowers somebody to re-establish the principles of religion, they can do it very nicely. But paritranaya sadhuna, to give pleasure to his devotees, for that Krishna has to come personally. That's where he cannot delegate this task to anybody else. So Prabhupada, he gives the example of a high court judge. High court judge, he is a very powerful person. With his own judgment, he can, take away somebody's wealth, award somebody some wealth, he can put somebody in jail. It's a very powerful person. And he has so much, servants and assistants available to them to carry out those orders. But when he goes home and he has a small child, and the child says, "Father, I want to play with you." So that time, judge does not say, "My servant, come here, play with my child." My child has some needs. He wants to play. He wants to be happy. So now you play with my son. The son will say, "No, no, father, I don't want your servant. I want to play with you." So that loving exchange with his devotees, that Krishna, he does not delegate to anybody else. That has to be done by his own, but does done by himself. No, he does not delegate to anybody. So when he comes to this world, as we discussed, he comes with three purpose, paritranaya sadhunam, vinaya dushkritam, dharma sansthapanarthaya. So the other two he can delegate to anybody, but his primary purpose is to please his devotees. So now in these pages, he is simply giving pleasure to his devotees. And Krishna, he gives pleasure to his devotees, in so many ways. Krishna, when he comes, he is not simply, giving pleasure to the gopis and gopas, those who are in human form of body. He gives pleasure to everyone. be it a small bee in the forest, or the deers or peacocks, and what to speak of the cows. Uh, Krishna, he gives pleasure to everyone, uh, and in so many ways he's interacting with his devotees. So in these pages, the description starts. I'll just read one or two lines from the beginning. With the arrival of the beautiful autumn season, the waters in the lakes and rivers became as clear as crystal and filled with fragrant lotus flowers, and breeze blew very pleasantly. At that time, Krishna entered the forest of Vrindavan with the cows and cowherd boys. Krishna was very much pleased with the atmosphere of the forest, where flowers bloomed and the bees and drones hummed very jubilantly. While the birds and trees and plants were all looking very happy, Krishna tending the cows and accompanied by Sri Balram and the cowherd boys began to vibrate his transcendental flute. After hearing the vibration of the flute of Krishna, the gopis in Vrindavan remembered him and began to talk amongst themselves about how nicely Krishna was playing his flute. So, Krishna, um, he here is mentioned uh, he is very happy with the Vrindavan. Uh, So, uh, when you talked about that Krishna, he likes to give pleasure to his devotees. So when in the exchange of love, when we love someone, the love flows the both direction. So the Vrindavan consciousness is what, that we want to, all the devotees wants to please Krishna, and in return Krishna wants to please everyone. So and this is going on eternally. This is Vrindavan consciousness. That the devotees, they simply want to serve Krishna for his pleasure, and in the return they want nothing. Nothing means nothing whatsoever. They just simply wants to please Krishna. But in return, Krishna also gives so much love, so much joy, and so much pleasure to his devotees. In Vrindavan, everybody is happy. Everybody is supremely blissful. But this bliss, it comes in various forms. Generally, bliss, we think that we are happy, our eyes are brightly lit up. But our bliss comes in various forms. So you will see in the next few pages that gopis are very happy, uh, but their happiness, that bliss, sometimes comes in the form of a transcendental envy, saying, this flute is so fortunate, more fortunate than us. Why we are not as close to Krishna? Uh, but this is to glorify, each devotees. Uh, the gopis, they are uh, their mood is that I'm not great devotee of Krishna. Somebody else is more better than me, and they start glorifying that devotee. So here you'll see the gopis, they'll be glorifying the flute. So Krishna, he enters the Vrindavan forest, and he's so happy, seeing the beauty of Vrindavan forest, and then he starts playing flute. Uh, and flute, my dear friends, this is uh, uh, one sign of Krishna, that as soon as anywhere in this world, those who has any connection with Krishna consciousness or with Krishna, as soon as we see flute, immediately image comes is of Krishna. Flute means Krishna. Flute and peacock feather. Uh, so this Krishna's playing flute. It is in the scripture it is explained. He plays the fifth note, and when he plays the fifth note, um, he the whole world becomes stunned. The two things happens when he plays his fifth note. That inanimate things becomes animate, and animate things becomes inanimate. So moving becomes in moving, and immoving becomes moving. So in Vrindavan, the Jamuna, you know, she's constantly flowing. The river Jamuna, she's constantly flowing. But as soon as Krishna plays the flute, the water stops. Water does not move anywhere. It just becomes standstill. Uh, and then when the Krishna plays the fifth note and the stones, they also hear this flute. And the stones, they start melting. uh, and they, and they start moving. Uh, Now these are very high esoteric descriptions and topics of Krishna bhakti. Uh, it requires uh, a faith, a purification, and top of all, our service attitude. These topics that we are reading from Krishna book. Sometimes our our conditioned mind, we struggle to accept all these things. How is this are possible? Uh, but these are possible when we are applying ourselves to the process of bhakti. When we are humble in our approach to Krishna, and when we are sincerely practicing the devotional activities of bhakti, then those purification comes in our heart, uh, and uh, and then these things becomes very appeals to our heart. Otherwise, this remains just the description, something supernatural, super hi-fi. uh, but when we when you apply the principles of bhakti, when our lifestyle is molded in the bhakti tradition, then these topics, they just don't remain topic, they become part of our life. So here it is mentioned that gopis, as soon as they heard the Krishna's playing flute. Now Krishna is in forest. He is not in Vrindavan. He's gone outside the Vrindavan, and then he's tending the cows there. But the gopis could hear from a long distance, and as soon as they hear flute, they start glorifying Krishna. This is another aspect of Vrindavan. Vrindavan, their topic, anybody's conversation, the topic of every conversation is Vrindavan is Krishna. There is no mundane talk. They don't discuss politics. They don't discuss the each other's family affairs. Uh, Anything and everything in Vrindavan, the any conversation ever happens in Vrindavan is about Krishna. Uh, so gopis, they hear the flute of Krishna, and immediately they starts remembering various pastimes of Krishna, uh, and they just simply go in ecstasy. Now here, Prabhupada, he is talking about the samadhi. There's a whole paragraph on the word samadhi. So let me just read that paragraph again. That how is this gopis remembering Krishna and samadhi, they are related. Let's read that one. Persons who are constantly engaged in the transcendental meditation of seeing Krishna internally and externally by thinking of him playing the flute, entering the Vrindavan forest, and tending the cows with the cowherd boys, have really attained the perfection of samadhi. Yeah, I repeat this word. It says it is they have really attained the perfection of samadhi. Samadhi or trance means absorption of all activities of senses in a particular object. And the gopis indicate that the pastimes of Krishna are the perfection of all meditation and samadhi. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that anyone who is always absorbed in the thought of Krishna is the topmost of all yogis. A small paragraph, but this is kind of the heart of the paragraph, heart of the chapter. For us as a sadhaka to take this home, to take it into our heart. Uh, that what is samadhi? Samadhi, Prabhupada explains here, it is the absorption of all your senses in a particular object. You have no side distraction or no other focus other than one particular object. That is samadhi. And what is the perfection of samadhi uh, for a devotee? So I read those lines again. What is the perfection of samadhi? Persons who are constantly engaged in transcendental meditation of seeing Krishna internally and externally by thinking of him playing the flute, entering the Vrindavan forest, and tending the cows with the cowherd boys have really attained the perfection of samadhi. So all these mystic yogis and the sadhakas who go to the forest to finally enter into the samadhi, uh, what that samadhi entails. Here it says, samadhi, the perfection of samadhi is to meditate on Krishna is entering into forest with his cowherd boyfriends and with the cows and is playing flute. This is the perfection of samadhi. Uh, and this is we cannot artificially try to attain this samadhi. When we try sit down for some time in our sofa and try to meditate on this, we'll be able to do it 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and suddenly your phone rings. WhatsApp. Something has come, some doors, somebody's knocking on the door, samadhi is broken. uh, uh, and uh, and first of all, people do not know samadhi only. What is the perfection of samadhi? But even if we know, we cannot. Uh, um, we do not have time and our purification to enter into that samadhi. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has given this very very easy way uh, to attain this same samadhi uh, in a very easy and applicable way we can all apply into our life. Uh, and his process is so simple. He first starts with chanting the name of Krishna. Uh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has given these three uh, kind of principle. If we apply that into our life, then we can easily attain the same samadhi that gopis are private to this. Gopis have attained this. And these three are Nama Ruchi, attraction or the interest in chanting the holy name of the Lord. This is the topmost one, Nama Ruchi, chanting the holy name of the Lord. Second is Jivadaya, inspiring and helping other living entities to help them chant the holy name of the Lord. Jivadaya means being merciful and helpful to all other living entities. And what is the best help you can give to other living entities? By helping them to chant the holy name of the Lord. And Vaishnav Seva, serving all those devotees who have attained that purification or state of samadhi, the saintly people who are in love with Krishna and who are helping us in our life. We serve them. We show our appreciation, our respect to them. When we apply these three principles, then eventually we'll attain the same state as the gopis have. As we know, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has come to give the same love that gopi has for Krishna. He is ready to give the same love, but we have to have that patra, a container where we can attend that, we can receive that love in that of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I repeat it again: Namaruchi, chanting the holy name of the Lord; Jivadaya, uh, helping and inspiring everybody else in chanting the name of the Lord; and Vaishnav Seva, serving the devotees of the Lord. And when we do this, eventually, we'll attain the same state that gopis have. So the topmost is Namaruchi, chanting the holy name of the Lord. Now, this, my dear friends, is so easy. Uh, you just sit down or at a convenient place in your house and pick up your mala and just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It does not get, spiritual life does not get anything simpler than this. It does not require any postures or any particular rules and regulation. It's very simple. Just chant and hear, chant and hear. Uh, uh, and this holy name, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, is mentioned in Shikshastakam, that it will purify your heart. Without our knowledge, we won't even know, that I'm getting so purified with this chanting. So chanting the holy name of the Lord is very, very, very important. And as we chant, then the more we chant, and the more purification will come, and we'll be inspired to, do so many other spiritual activities in our life. All bad habits will go away. All the confusions and doubts in our life will go away. Why? Because this holy name is purifying you. Uh, uh, we are all, it is said, we are in Bhavasagar, we are in Bhavarog, we have all this material disease. When you're in a disease condition, nothing seems right, in our life. When we have a small cold or cough, some fever, nothing in the world, gives any pleasure to us. Everything is so confusing, so problematic. But as soon as we regain our health, everything seems absolutely nice. Oh, nice sunshine, nice trees. I want to go there. I want to go there. Your mind is absolutely clear. Uh, so when we chant the holy name of the Lord, our disease, our bhavrog slowly diminishes, and then we start experiencing the healthy spiritual life into our life. So this holy chanting the holy name is so very important. In the ISKCON, of Srila Prabhupada, he has instructed us that one should chant at least 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day. It takes about 2 hours of our life, of our day. And it might be difficult for somebody to start chanting 16 rounds straight away. But we can start at least with one round, which takes 7.5 minutes to chant. 7.5 minutes of our, of our day, we spend the 7.5 minutes, in so many useless things, TV or gossiping or, or just doing nothing. Or 7.5 minutes of it just, snatches, we just wasted it so many ways. Rather, use it in sincerely chanting the holy name of Krishna. And this simple method, of chanting Krishna's name, what is the ultimate uh, benefit it is going to get you? It is going to take you to the same platform as the gopi. So Namaruchi, then Vaishnav Seva. And then we should, as we get test in the chanting the holy name, we should help everybody else. We should go to the gathering, while devotees are meeting and hear Krishna Katha and help each other, inspiring our spiritual life. That is also a very important aspect. If we can just, if we simply chant and, for our own purification, for our own benefit, then we become selfish. We are not, you know, very charitable. We should share, our good fortune with everyone. Then the Jivadaya is also very important. And then Vaishnav Seva. We should find the opportunity. Where are the devotees of the Lord? Let me associate with them. Let me hear from them. Let me see if I can help them in their service to Krishna. And we do this, then the Samadhi of Gopi will be our destination. Will be our will be our rightful claim. So this is when I read this chapter, this particular paragraph really stuck into my mind. It's a beautiful lessons that we can take it from. So if we move on now, so if anybody like to read, I think there are a few more pages there. Anybody like to read? I think about next 4 pages, 4 paragraphs we can read.
Yeah. Should I read, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Shall I?
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Okay, Mataji, you have the book, Mataji. Okay, you can read it from
Yeah,
there.
I got book. Yeah. Another gopi spoke to her friends about Krishna. Dear friends, our Vrindavana is proclaiming the glories of this entire earth because this planet is glorified by the lotus footprints of the son of Devaki. Besides that, when Govinda plays his flute, the peacocks immediately become mad, and if they had heard the rumbling of a new cloud, when all the animals and trees and planets, either on the top of Govardhana hill or in the valley, see the dancing of the peacocks, they all stand still and listen to the transcendental sounds of the flute with great attention. We think that this boon is not possible or available on any other planet. Although the gopis were village cowards, women and girls, they had extensive Vedic knowledge. Such is the effect of Vedic civilization. People in general would learn the highest tr- trust of the Vedas simply by hearing from authoritative sources. Another gopi said, "My dear friends, just see the deer, although they are dumb animals, they have approached the son of Maharaj Ananda Krishna. Yeah. Not only are they attracted by the dress of Krishna and Balarama, but as soon as they hear the playing of the flute, the deer, along with their husbands, offer respectful obeisance to the Lord by looking at him with great affection. The gopis were envious of the deer because the deer were able to offer their service to Krishna along with their husbands. The gopis thought themselves not so fortunate because whenever they wanted to go to Krishna, their husbands were not very happy. Another gopi said, "My dear friends, Krishna is so nicely dressed that he appears to be the impetus to various kinds of uh, ceremonies held by the women folk. Even the wives of the denizens of heaven become attracted after hearing the transcendental sound of his flute. Although they are traveling in the air in their airplanes, enjoying the company of their husbands, on hearing the sound of Krishna flute, they immediately become perturbed. Their hair is loosened and their tight belts are slackened. This means that the transcendental sounds of the flute of Krishna extended to all corners of the universe. Although it is significant that the gopis knew about the different kinds of airplanes flying in the sky. Another gopi said to her friend, "My dear friend, the cows are also charmed as soon as they hear the transcendental sound of the flute of Krishna. It sounds to them like the pouring of nectar, and they immediately spread their long ears just to catch the liquid nectar of the flute. As for the cows, they are seen with the nipples of their mothers pressed in their mouths, but they cannot suck the milk. They remain stuck with devotion, and tears glide down from their eyes, illustrating vividly how they are amazing. Krishna here, Krishna heart to heart. These phenomena indicate that even the cows and the calves in the Vedan in the Vrindavana knew how to cry for Krishna and embrace him heart to heart. Actually, the perfection of Krishna consciousness can be culminated in the shedding of tears from the eyes.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Mataji,
Hare
yes.
Krishna, Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mata. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Again, some beautiful description of the gopis talk amongst themselves when they hear when they're hearing the flute of Krishna. Mm. I'll just read one or two lines, from the first paragraph, and then we'll come to. When all the trees and plants, either on the top of Govardhan Hill or in the valley, see the dancing of the peacocks, they all stand still and listen to the transcendental sound of the flute with great attention. We think that this boon is not possible or available to any other planet. Then Prabhupada writes, although the gopis were village covered women and girls, they had extensive Vedic knowledge. Such is the perfect effect of Vedic civilization. Perfect people in general would learn the highest truths of the Vedas simply by hearing from the authoritative sources. Again, we see another, beautiful the character of Brajbasis. Brajbasis, in a simple terms, we say coward boys, women, and men. And what they do, they just tend cows and milk cows and and sell milk products, and this is how they live their life. Uh, they are not highly qualified into the philosophy and the scriptures and all. But here Prabhupada says the gopis, they were highly, what he says, had extensive Vedic knowledge. Gopi had extensive Vedic knowledge, and how did this Vedic knowledge comes? Says because they heard it from the sources, the authoritative sources. So in Vedic lifestyle, the the hearing is very important. To be, a educated person. Of course, our schools and universities are there to get the education. Uh, but the real uh, the essential knowledge that we about the spiritual life, it comes by hearing. And these gopis, they heard, from their mothers, their fathers, their superiors, how these universal affairs are conducted, and they had that extensive Vedic knowledge. Mm. So hearing is very important part of spiritual life. We should, wherever there is opportunities are there, we should run, and hear from scriptures, from the authoritative, persons who are reading or giving classes on those topics. At least once in a week, twice is most good, daily is the best. But if not that much, then at least once a week, we should hear Krishna Katha, and we should ask questions. Mm. We should hear and ask questions, because when you hear so many doubts, so many queries, so many inquisitiveness things comes into our brain, and we should clarify that. We should ask questions. Hmm? We'll, we know the story of uh, the Brahmana Patni. The the story is there where the Brahmanas were doing fire sacrifice, and the Krishna, he sent his friends to get some food from them. The Brahmanas refused to give fruit, but when they approached the wives of the Brahmana, they immediately, gave everything to Krishna. Uh, and there it is mentioned in that particular chapter that the wives are most highly qualified than their counterpart husbands. The husbands, though they were, very, highly read, highly qualified into scriptures and all, but the patnis were self-realized, more self-realized than the husbands. Why? Because, you know, while they were doing their household works, while fetching the water from the well, they're always hearing about Krishna. They're always talking about Krishna. Uh, and with that hearing, they become even more advanced than their own husbands. Hmm? So, the the bhakti, it is not limited, by any restrictions whatsoever. Sometimes we say, ladies, they have so many household works, so much work to do. Where is the time for a bhakti? Uh, Actually, if we see our Vedic lifestyle, the bhakti activities are there in all our activities. You know. Generally, we think, we that bhakti and our how and our art or our family activities, they are two different things, and somehow we have to merge them together. But actually, it is not true. Bhakti actually is part of our daily activity. Our life should be in such a way that bhakti becomes the primary activity, and then in that activity, our family is naturally taken care of. Hmm. So here it is mentioned the gopis, they are very highly qualified into the Vedic knowledge. And then there is description of the cows and the deers, that they uh, uh, when they hear the flute of Krishna, the uh, the deers, I don't know, we generally see the deers in the zoo. But we should see deer in the open. And as soon as they hear some nice sound, their ears become, erect. Yes, where is the sound coming from? And so when these deers heard the flute of Krishna, it says, deers and their husband, they bow down to Krishna. You know, this is Krishna's flute. And then there is the cow's description, and in that description, the little small cows, they are, sucking the milk from their mother, and when they heard the flute of Krishna, they they lost all their interest in sucking the milk. Now this is, something very important we can understand. Uh, for a small calf, or a child, the sucking the milk from the mother is the most, joyous activity they can perform. They're so happy. The child is the most happiest when they're drinking the milk from their mother. But even that highest, pleasure, when they hear the flute of Krishna, they lose interest in that. They do not have interest in that activity. In fact, here it is mentioned. Let me read it again. They remain struck with devotion, and tears glide down from their eyes, illustrating vividly how they are embracing Krishna heart to heart. This even small calf is remembering the flute of Krishna, is hearing the flute of Krishna and is remembering Krishna. Uh, and in the heart of heart is embracing Krishna. Oh, Krishna is gone to the forest. I cannot see Krishna, but let me embrace me in my heart. Uh, and there it is mentioned, the tears glide down from their eyes. Now these tears are of love. and they are not the ordinary tears of of this world. The tears of love, that this small calf is remembering Krishna. Uh, those who remember in the initial description of Krishna book, there are so many pastimes where Krishna is playing so many ways with the small calf. There's one description that when Krishna was small baby, uh, he would pick up the calf's tail, and calf will become a little agitated, always picked up my tail, and the calf starts running, and Krishna will hold on to the tail, and Krishna is kind of given a small ride in the Vrindavan, and Krishna is dragged into the dust of Vrindavan, and the calf is going here and there. So Krishna, he's a wonderful time. uh, so this is just one, but Krishna is always surrounded by his cows and calves. uh, and then that calf is hearing the flute of Krishna. He just remember, oh Krishna, I used to play with him. And he's gone to the forest. When will I see him again? Uh, Now see the Brajavasis, they're 24 hours day Krishna conscious. Uh, when they are with the Krishna, they are happy. When they are not with Krishna, they are remembering Krishna and waiting when the Krishna will come. So this is Krishna consciousness. Uh, and that paragraph, Prabhupada, completes, the paragraph with this very important statement. I'll just read it again. Prabhupada writes there, actually, the perfection of Krishna consciousness can be culminated in the shedding of tears from the eyes. Uh, the perfection of Krishna consciousness. Today we talked about two perfection. One is the perfection of samadhi and perfection of Krishna consciousness. That samadhi is that you are simply remembering Krishna in everything that we do. Uh, there is no other space for anything else other than remembering Krishna. That is the perfection of samadhi. And here is the perfection of Krishna consciousness, shedding tears of love for Krishna. That when the heart is overflowing with the bhakti, in that state the body reacts, and then these tears of love starts gliding from the eyes. So this is the perfection, and this perfection was displayed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he came to this world. Mahaprabhu, in his life story is divided into three sections. Adi Lila, Madhya Lila, and Antya Lila. In Antya Lila, you know, Mahaprabhu is so much absorbed in love of Krishna, in the same mood that Radharani, she's thinking of Krishna in separation. And in that separation, in that pinnacle of peak of Mahaprabhu's ecstasy, he is constantly crying. And one place it is a description. Mahaprabhu had a small Govardhan Shila of this size, and he would always praise that Govardhan Shila to his heart, because Govardhan and Krishna, they are non-different. And it is said that Mahaprabhu would constantly bathe that Govardhan Shila with the tears from his eyes. And he said that Govardhan Shila was always moist. It was never dry. He was constantly, day and night, he was just crying and crying. And then that Govardhan Shila was moist with his tears. That Govardhan Shila is still there in one of the temple in Vrindavan. So someday, when we get a chance, we should go, and then, take the darshan of that Govardhan Shila. You can still see, that Govardhan Shila, you can see that this, particular Shila has definitely been touched with the water for a long, long, long time. So again, this is the perfection of Krishna consciousness. It is a shedding of the tears. Again, my dear friends, this is not something to artificially imitate. There are some artificial imitators. When there is a katha going on, then they start crying. Crying is artificially crying is not so difficult. Some if you practice, this art, within a few days you can be master of this art of to cry at the will. But the crying, when with the love of God, it is. Uh, it only happens when Krishna is pleased with our service. In fact, it is said that the devotees, they don't show that those emotions in a public when they are when they are you know so much overjoyed, that they would like to cry. But as soon as that emotion comes, they either leave that place, or they suppress their emotions. They don't show it in the public. This particular emotion is not for public consumption. It is something between a devotee and Krishna. This cannot be imitated artificially. So it's a beautiful chapter. There are a few more paragraphs are there, but I think we stop here. If anybody has any questions or comments, you can ask now. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. I'll just